We've seen recently that the British launched 1,000-bomber raids over the continent. We saw a few months ago Germany's Bataker Raids against British tourist towns. Those were ordered by Adolf Hitler as reprisals for British firebombing. And there is a lot of politics involved on both sides here. But what are the planes Britain and Germany are using this year that do the actual bombing? Let's take a look. I'm Indy Neidell. This is a World War II hardware special on British and German bombers in 1942. British air power advocates argue that the RAF is the only branch of the British military capable of landing a blow against the Germans, right? After taking leadership of Bomber Command in February, Air Chief Marshal Sir Arthur Harris gradually phases in the new Lancaster units as part of his strategic offensive. The first Lancaster operations take place over Heligoland on March 3rd. Those planes rapidly assume primacy in bombing operations over the following weeks and months. But the older Halifax, which is often credited as the second best bomber behind the Lancaster, continues to prove itself invaluable to air operations. The Handley Page Halifax is still the most numerous of the heavies in Harris's initial 1,000-bomber raid against Cologne on May 30th. It has a wingspan of 31.7 meters and a length of 22 meters. Its top speed is 450 kilometers per hour with a flight ceiling of 7,300 meters, though this dips considerably when the plane is fully armed with its 2,600-kilo bomb load. Fully loaded, the Halifax can operate to a range of 1,600 kilometers. Initial versions come equipped with a power-operated tail turret mounting 4 7.7mm machine guns, powered turrets mounting 2 more on the upper fuselage and belly, and 2 more in the nose blister. The belly turret is eventually phased out in favor of an H-2S radar bombing system, and the upper turrets will be doubled so that 4 7.7s are mounted on the fuselage. It has a basic crew of 7. The Avro Lancaster, by contrast, has a wingspan of 31 meters and a length of 21. Its top speed is 450 kilometers an hour with a flight ceiling of 7,500 meters. Fully armed with a 6,350 kilo bomb load, the Lancaster has a range of 2,670 kilometers. The Lancaster carries mixed loads of bombs during its nighttime raids over Germany. A cylindrical 19 or 1,800 kilo high blast cookie, or several 450 or 900 kilo bombs, with the rest of the load consisting of small incendiaries, in keeping with Harris's enthusiasm for incendiaries and his single-minded attention to concentrating raids into the shortest possible time frame. The Lancasters are armed with 4 7.7mm machine guns, a twin turret on the upper rear fuselage, and 2 in the nose, with some versions sporting an additional pair in a belly turret. A basic crew of 7, pilot, co-pilot, bombardier, navigator, radio men, and 2 gunners, handles the aircraft. So, Lancaster versus Halifax. What's the verdict? Well, according to Harris, the Lancaster is more useful than its predecessor. His blunt assessment is that 1 Lancaster is to be preferred to 4 Halifaxes. Halifaxes are an embarrassment now and will be useless for the bomber offensive in 6 months, if not before. The Halifax suffers about 4 times the casualties for a given bomb tonnage when compared to the Lancaster. Low ceilings and short range make it an embarrassment when planning attacks with Lancasters. How founded is this criticism? The average Lancaster, over the course of its operational lifespan, drops 154 tons of bombs at a longer range, whereas the average Halifax drops only 100 tons. The Lancaster is also cheaper to manufacture, but German defenses take their toll regardless. Over the course of their 156,192 sorties, 3,836 Lancasters are lost. 107,085 of these sorties take place over Germany, 23,204 of them during daylight, where 2,508 aircraft are lost, 179 during daytime raids. The Halifax, by contrast, flies only 47,069 sorties over Germany, just 10,074 during daylight, losing 1,467 aircraft in the process. Harris's critiques are, however, perhaps overly harsh. It is true the Lancaster can transport a bigger payload across a longer range with a slightly higher flight ceiling, but it's also true that 29% of Halifax crews survive a crash, while just 11% of Lancaster crews do, and that's a pretty big difference. And there are a lot of both shot down. for the Luftwaffe pilots, improved anti-air defenses, radio countermeasures, and RAF night fighters make the task of striking Britain a daunting prospect. Adolf Hitler, however, demands revenge for Britain's March raid on Lübeck, calling it a terror attack. The German reprisals that follow, as we've seen, become known as the Bataker Raids after the travel booklets published for tourists to British landmarks and cities. These attacks, however, are largely ineffective and progressively lose momentum. The Luftwaffe is hard-pressed and thinly stretched, having to also deal with the African and Eastern fronts. And it is the Junkers Ju-88 and Dornier Do-17 and Do-217 bombers that take the lead in these retaliatory operations, alongside a handful of Heinkel He-111s that have not been transferred to the east. The Ju-88, nicknamed the Wunderbomber by the Germans, was originally designed to rely entirely on its superior speed to escape the attention of enemy fighters. Its wingspan measures 18.38 meters with an overall length of 14.36. Top speed is 450 kilometers an hour and has a flight ceiling of 8,000 meters. Fully loaded with 1,800 kilos of bombs, the Ju-88 has an operational range of 1,700 kilometers. The plane also comes loaded with 3 7.92 millimeter machine guns. It is operated by a crew of 4. During the Baedeker raids, the Ju-88 crews are mostly inexperienced and try to draw attention away from the activity of Kampfgeschwader 2's Dorniers. The Dornier Do-17, which is phased out by the heavier Do-17 by the summer, is German 3rd Air Fleet's offensive muscle for those raids. But you know, the piecemeal nature of the bomber groups hinders their ability to effectively deliver payloads on target, to say nothing of the British defenses. The Do-17 has a wingspan of 18 meters and an overall length of 15.77 meters. Top speed is 360 kilometers per hour with a flight ceiling of 9,022 meters. Its payload capacity is 1,000 kilos of bombs with an operational range of 1,158 kilometers. It is outfitted with 6 of those 7.92 machine guns and a crew of 4. Now, the newer Do-217 has an increased flight ceiling, 9,500 meters, and now a top speed of 400 kilometers an hour. It also has a significantly larger payload of 4,000 kilos. As for the Heinkel He-111s, they earned a reputation as the backbone of the Luftwaffe's bomber arm in 1939 and 1940. By 1942, however, the fighting on the Eastern Front has long foretold the end of the Heinkel's career as a bomber in the West. Only like 10 111s are lost over Britain from April to August 1942. The vast majority have been sent over to support operations in the USSR. The 111 has a wingspan of 22.6 meters and an overall length of 16.39 meters. The top speed is 405 kilometers per hour and the flight ceiling 8,500 meters. Its payload capacity is 2,495 kilos of bombs and the operational range 2,060 kilometers. It's outfitted with 6 machine guns of varying caliber, ranging from the 7.92s all the way up to 13 millimeters, and it has a crew of 5. The Bataker raids are, as I said, failures, and this is for several reasons. Perhaps most important, the German 3rd Air Fleet, Luftflotte 3, designated Air Command West, had been pared to the bone and transformed into an almost entirely defensive force that was concerned more with defending occupied Northwest Europe than taking the fight to the enemy's shores. Sure, bomber units are diverted from southern France and from Italy in order to support those raids, but then they are transferred back to their original postings weeks later, returning substantially weaker. And by October 1942, bombing units ostensibly earmarked for exclusive use against Britain are being periodically shifted to the Mediterranean to counter Allied activity in North Africa. Does the Lancaster truly deserve its place as the best bomber of the RAF this year? Well, the Halifax does have its supporters, and both aircraft really come into their own under the conditions afforded the RAF this summer. The German bombers, on the other hand, become increasingly disorganized in the West, especially with the Luftwaffe juggling competing priorities. It is simply not possible to sustain retaliatory air raids on the British as Hitler wants, while simultaneously having substantial forces on 2 other large fronts. The losses that the British suffer seem so far to be sustainable in the long run. The losses that the Germans suffer do not really seem so. If you want to see some more hardware, here's a special we did last year on the tanks of Barbarossa. And to see the effects of things like strategic bombing, you should go through our War Against Humanity playlist. There is a link below, and there's probably one popping up here as well. For more specials like this, join the Time Ghost Army at timeghost.tv or patreon.com, and we will make them. Do not forget to subscribe. See you next time.